Thanks for tuning in to another video. And this video is probably not going to get a lot of views because these buds are a little older. But one of my viewers asked me to do a comparison and I could not think of a good excuse not to do it. So here it is. And of course, if you're looking for newer Samsung buds, check out my channel for the Buds 4 review. This is the Buds 4 Pro here. I updated the software on all these devices, and I'll show you all the latest features that are there now, because they did get several updates since they were introduced. First thing we want to talk about is the comfort, and this was a big difference for me, bigger than I would think. The original Buds FE had clearly the most comfortable and secure fit of the three, likely due to the wing design. The Buds 3 Pro actually had a terrible fit for me, frequently falling out and would move and kind of loosen up and fall out anytime I used any kind of touch controls on it. So I was very thankful that they had voice controls, which I'll get into a little bit later and tell you the features on the voice controls. And the Buds 3 Pro and the Buds 3 FE look exactly the same, but there is a slight dimensional difference. And for some reason, the Buds 3 FE actually fit me very good. Of course, that's my experience, but hopefully that will help you make a decision. Okay, so now the form factor is a big deal here, right? So let's look at these guys. This is the Buds 3 Pro on the right. This is the Buds 3 FE. And you can see, I mean, they look identical, but like I said, there is a slight difference between them. And they have the stem design, whether you like it or not. The Buds FE here have, the traditional bud design, I would say. And it also does add this wingtip design, which I think is really important. And I think it makes a much big difference with comfort. Let's talk about the colors. The Buds FE and the Buds 3 FE come in only black and white, which is not so exciting. And you'll also notice that the Buds FE, if you pick black or white, you still get a white case, which I don't really love that idea. But the Buds 3 Pro do come in white and silver, and I think the metallic silver design does look a little more modern. Throughout the video, I will just flash some details on the screen to make the video a little shorter, so pay attention for that. And I'll also try to keep these in order, with the Buds FE over here, the Buds 3 FE over here, and the Buds 3 Pro over here, and I will try not to screw up the names. I'll also leave the supported codecs and the speaker details in the description, and of course links to buy these if you are interested and you want to support the channel. No pressure, but I'm watching. Okay, so in the box you're going to get the case, and you're going to get the buds, and you're going to get some ear tips. All three of them had 3 pairs of ear tips, 2 that came on it and then 2 extra ones. I have no idea what happened to the Buds FE tips. I looked all around and I had them when I started the video and then I kind of lost them. I'm not sure what happened. But then the other thing is, though, the Buds FE here do give you 2 different wing tips, which is nice, so you can adjust it even further. Now let's talk about the cases just a little bit more here. So you can see the Buds 3 FE and the Buds 3 Pro basically have, identical cases. I couldn't really tell them apart. They're all the same here. Now the only difference is the Buds 3 Pro does have wireless charging, and neither of these do. Then we got the Buds FE, which has the older traditional design, because this is the oldest bud of the group, and kind of similar to the Buds 3 Pro and the Buds 2 Pro and all that kind of stuff. And this is the Buds Live, which actually is my other favorite bud. I really wish Samsung came out with the Buds Live 2, but boy, they didn't, and they probably won't. But I love that design. Officially, none of these cases are resistant to dust and water, but I'm going to put them all in the water and see if they survive. No, I am just kidding. If I get like 1,000 comments, then maybe I'll do that. Now with all these buds, they no longer have the gear app that you have to access all the features there. It's just in the settings menu, and even for the Buds FE, it's the same thing. So how do they sound? Well, obviously this is subjective, but I'll give you my opinion of these. So let's start with the Buds FE over here. These have a surprisingly good sound quality, especially for the price. They're very warm sounding, good bass, clear vocals, and the mids and the highs don't overly stand out, but it was just a pleasant listening experience. They also had very good passive noise cancellation, which definitely helped with the sound quality, I think. But there was average instrument separation on these. Then we could upgrade to the Buds 3 FE, and these are better. These have a good punchy bass, more detail compared to the original FE, and better instrument separation. better mids, better highs. It's just a little clearer vocals, but they don't quite sound as good as the Buds 3 Pro. But they are much closer to the Buds 3 Pro than the Buds FE. Now let's talk about the Buds 3 Pro here. So these have a better, more thumpy bass that's noticeable. It's definitely better than the Buds 3 FE, and a much bigger difference going from the original Buds FE. They have a more detailed sound. It has definitely better spatial separation, a bigger, wider soundstage, and the vocals and the treble sound much brighter and clearer, and it just a more pleasant music experience over more genres, I think. But I kind of liked all of these, honestly, including the Buds FE. So I think if you got any of these and you weren't listening to them, back and forth and comparing them exactly, I think you'd be happy with all of them. But if you want the best sound and you like the stem design, and I think the form factor is probably equally important as the sound quality, then upgrade to the Buds FE or the Buds 3 Pro. But if there is a big price difference between the Buds 3 FE and the Buds 3 Pro, and if you don't need the extra features of the Buds 3 Pro, which I'll go into in just a little bit, then I'd probably say get the Buds 3 FE and save some money. And the Buds 3 FE is probably the better value of the three, because it's not much more expensive than the Buds FE and definitely cheaper than the Buds 3 Pro, but you're getting a lot of the features of the Buds 3 Pro. So I kind of just gave you my recommendations on which bud to buy here, and I don't usually include the conclusion in the middle, but there it is. Now, if you have one of these buds, or if you are going to buy one of these buds based on this video, please include your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And of course, if this video is helpful so far, please consider subscribing and maybe even hyping the video, which is a new thing, and I think that helps me. I post new videos every week, which is a hard schedule to keep up sometimes because I am still working full-time, believe it or not. So I really appreciate all the support. Thank you so much. So I'm going to put the IP ratings on the screen here. Just to let you know, the IP rating, the first digit is for dust resistance, and the second is for water resistance. The Buds FE has almost none, basically. The Buds 3 FE has the 54, which is good for rain splashes, light splashes and sweat, so that would be okay for probably most people. But the Buds 3 Pro has the best, which is IP57, which technically means that you can submerge these in water for a little bit and they will survive, but I would not test that. So let's move on to call quality. I did not notice any big differences between these for the call quality. They all sounded good, I thought, and the person on the other end could hear me very well, even in noisy environments. Not extremely noisy environments, but commonly noisy environments where you would probably be using these, and I thought they worked just fine. Now, I usually include a sound sample of each of the buds, but I'm trying to keep this video a little more concise. So let's keep moving. Now, if there is a difference, I'd probably say the Buds 3 FE was a little better sounding for the person on the other end, but I don't think it really is a reason to pick one of these buds over the other. Go for the other factors that we're going to talk about here. And then the only other thing that I didn't like about the call quality stuff is that when you put the Buds 3 Pro in its ambient mode, I thought it sounded kind of very digital and not natural, and it just kind of magnified the ambient noise a little too much. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the different sound modes on here, which basically means the active noise cancellation and the ambient noise and the different features that each of these have. So as I go through the video, I think I'm going to cover most of the app, so I'm not going to have a specific section where I go over the app separately, and these are all pretty similar except for the extra features that you get on the higher end Buds 3 FE and the Buds 3 Pro. But this is the Buds FE right here, and you can see here we do get the battery amount of each bud and the case, and if there's a difference of battery life between the two buds, that'll break that out as well. Now we got to put both buds in just to trigger the sound settings here. But with both of them in, we got active noise cancellation, then I got the ambient noise right here. And then you'll also notice when I go into the other buds, you'll have more options here where you can decide how strong you want the ambient noise to be or the active noise cancellation. And there's a couple other things that the Buds 3 Pro do, which I'll get to in just a moment. And then the other thing you'll notice, there is no auto switching back for these. It's either off, ambient sound, or active noise cancellation, and no crossover between them. Okay, so I'm hopefully not going to glitch my phone or my buds here by switching back and forth between them so quickly. But this is the Buds 3 FE. I have the same charging battery details on the top here. If I had them in the case, I'd get the case percentage. And then if I just scroll up here, this is where the difference is between these two. is that I have active noise cancellation, ambient sound, and then I have off. But I have 4 levels of the ambient sound and the active noise cancellation, which is very nice. Then I can customize how strong I want each of those to be. The other thing is it will automatically switch the ambient sound during your phone calls, and you could toggle this on and off. And I'll just show you here. Again, the app is very similar between all of these, and I'll go into some of the specific details that separate each of these, but this is what you get, and this, again, is pretty similar. Let's go to the Buds 3 Pro. Okay, here we go. I got the Buds 3 Pro. Let's click on this. Same deal on this top here. And we got these options here, but if you notice, you do have an extra feature right here with the adaptive. So if you put it in an adaptive, it will switch back and forth between the ambient and the active noise cancellation, depending on the surrounding sound, which is a nice feature. And then, of course, I got the 4 levels still that I could adjust and customize for the ambient sound and for the active noise cancellation, which is great. And then an extra feature of the Buds 3 Pro is that you get this here. So it will, let me just click on it. So it will actively switch to ambient mode if you're in active noise cancellation, or if you have it off, it will switch to that automatically for if it hears your voice or if it detects a siren. And then you can toggle each of these off if you'd like. Of course, it will also go into ambient noise automatically during phone calls if you'd like. And again, you can click that on and off. So hopefully I'm able to do this. I'm going to overlay a battery life on these while I talk about more details about the active noise cancellation. Now, the Buds 3 Pro should have the best active noise cancellation. And I think it does, but not by a lot, and only if you have a good fit on these. If you don't have a good seal, then obviously the active noise cancellation is not going to be as good as some of the other buds that fit better. Next in the active noise cancellation strength would be the Buds3 FE, again assuming we have a good fit. But I think the standout on active noise cancellation is the original Buds FE. It is surprisingly good. And I noticed this when I first got these buds, and I said that in my original review of the Buds FE a couple of years ago. And that was back when I was a small YouTuber. Now I am a slightly less small YouTuber. But you can change that, so please subscribe and share. Okay, I think that's probably the last of the promos, but no promises. Now, a lot of the active noise cancellation performance on the original Buds FE has to do with the great passive noise cancellation. I mean, just by putting it in my ear, I blocked out a lot of the outside noise. So the active noise cancellation, like I said, the technology is better on the Buds3 FE and the Buds3 Pro, but just the overall effect, I think, was very good on the Buds FE. Now, none of these buds had class-leading active noise cancellation even when they were first released, but I think any of these buds would be good enough for most people, as long as there is a good fit. Okay, let's talk about the touch controls. This is the original Buds FE, and the touch controls on this is actually very good, I think. You have a very big area to tap it. And again, these are fitting in your ear, and tapping these as much as you want, you're not going to knock these buds out of your ear. So that is, again, a very big advantage of these. And let me just show you what the features are for the touch controls. Okay, we got the Buds FE. I am still waiting for these things to glitch. Okay, so let me just scroll down here to touch controls. Now, one thing on the touch controls, which on all 3 of them, is basically you could tap them to turn them all off. And this is actually more critical on the Buds3 FE and the Buds3 Pro, because if you turn them all off, then you lose basically all of your stuff. If you have this on, I could toggle these on and off individually, which I can't do on the Buds3 FE and the Buds3 Pro. And I'll show you that in just a moment. But these are basic stuff here, and I can't change these either. You know, if I tap it once, it's going to play and pause. Tap it twice, it's going to the next track. I can't adjust that at all, which a little customization would have been nice. But let's keep going to the touch and hold, which is the other important tap control here. And of course, we got the call features over here. But let me click the tap and hold. And you do have actually a surprisingly amount of options here. We can switch between active noise cancellation and the ambient sound, the digital assistant. Of course, I can control my volume, mindfulness, and Spotify if you use those. But the other big thing is the interpreter, which I think is pretty impressive. Because if I activate the interpreter, this is what you get. And you get a conversation mode where you talk in your language and it will show it up here, which is, again, really nice. And you can change the languages on this. Let me just lower that down, right? Then the other nice thing is you can do this, and you can get listening mode, where you could just be listening to someone in a foreign language, and it will translate it in your earbud, which is really nice. And to me, this looks like the same AI interpreter that you get on the Buds 4 Pro, which is a pretty advanced thing that they brought it all the way back down to the original Buds FE, which was released a couple of years ago. So that's pretty impressive. If you don't think it's the exact same thing, just let me know, but it looked the same to me. Okay, so we're up to the Buds 3 FE right here. Let's click on this. And again, same details that we were going over before, but we're going to go over the earbud controls right here. Let me just click on this to show you what you got. We got the pinch, the play and pause, the double pinch, triple pinch, and you can swipe up and down for the volume control, which is actually very cool, I think. But you either have to have all of these activated or none of them. There's no in between here. So you can't just click, one or two of them like you could on the Buds FE. So you actually lost some customization going into the next model, which is odd. And the other thing is, for the volume swiping, it is actually in the back where you control the volume up and down. Where on the Buds 4 and the Buds 4 Pro, it's actually on the front, which I don't like. I think it's easier to do it on the back, and I could just swipe it with my thumb, and I felt like I had much less movement when I used my thumb. When I used the front, and it's just might be just a me thing, but I thought the front was definitely less stable. So let me put that back in, and let's talk about the pinch and hold features. You actually have less features than on the FE, but that's okay. We could switch our noise controls like we could on the other ones, and then we get the digital assistant for Google or Bixby. We could activate either of those, which is nice, right? And then we got the app interpreter here. Let me just click on that and see if we can do this. This is the interpreter conversation, right? Looks kind of similar. And there's our listening mode as well. So, kind of cool stuff. Okay, so if you've been paying attention at all, you know the kind of direction I'm going with this and the order I'm going with this. We're up to the Buds 3 Pro now, so let me just click on this. Same stuff here, and we're going to scroll down to earbud controls again. Let's click on that. We have the same media controls like we did on the 3 FE, but again, I can only turn them on and off. Same thing there, I can turn them on and off. And then for the pinch and hold, these are the options that we have. Same thing, and I'll just show you the interpreter here. Again, looks the same, right? I'm still impressed that they brought this full app down to the Buds FE. So that's great. Let's move on. So, and then to answer the calls, you can pinch, and to decline it, it's pinch and hold. Okay, so now I could easily go into the voice assistant now, but I'm trying to keep a consistent order here. So we're going to start again from the Buds FE. Let me show you the voice options that you have on that. So I am still impressed. I've been switching back and forth between all these buds here, and I haven't had a glitch, or everything's still working great. So Samsung is doing a good job switching these devices. So let's get into the Buds FE. Same stuff on top here. We're going to scroll down here, and it's going to be in advanced features. Let's click on this. And basically, the only voice control that you have is Bixby right here, and then you can turn this on and off. Now we're up to the Buds 3 FE. Let me scroll down here, and it has its own little section here, voice controls, which wasn't on the Buds FE, but we'll click on that. And now we have access to the Google Assistant or to Bixby Wake Up. And again, you could toggle both of these on and off. Okay, let's see what the Buds 3 Pro has. Buds 3 Pro, right? Let's click on it. Same stuff. We're going to scroll through here. And voice controls, again, it has its own little section. Let's click on here. And then we have more stuff. We still got the digital assistant we could turn on and off. We got the Bixby we could turn on and off. And just a comment here. Sometimes these didn't work very good, especially the Bixby. If there was any kind of noise, if I'm on my bike and there's some road noise and wind noise, I had to really enunciate and kind of say it quite loud for this stuff to trigger. So it doesn't always work as smoothly as you would think, especially not for me. So another really big feature, and probably my favorite feature of the Buds 3 Pro, is that we have voice controls. And this is also really important to me because I couldn't really use the touch controls very good without knocking the buds out of my ear. So these are the options that you have. If I say this is probably going to start music, but you can play the music, stop it, next song. You can change the volume. You could do the answer call, reject call with just speaking. And then, of course, if you are triggering this by accident or you're having some trouble, then you could just toggle this off. But that is a very extra feature on the Buds 3 Pro that I really love. That's also on the Buds 4 Pro if you're interested. But the original Buds 3 and the Buds 3 FE do not have those features, and these have been out for a little while, so the features I'm showing you here, I think these are probably locked down. You're probably not going to get any other features added to these. But let's keep moving. Okay, so let me just talk about some of the basic features that all of these have. They all have in-ear detection, which is important, so when you take the buds out of your ear, the music will automatically stop. And all of these will allow you to use just one bud while you have the other one charging, and you could also use the touch controls on that one bud, which is a nice feature. If your battery's dead, you could charge one and still listen to your stuff, which is great. Now, a big con of all three of these is that there is no true multi-point connection, and this is the case even with the new Buds 4. Now, the multi-point connection basically allows you to be watching a movie on your tablet or your laptop, and then when a phone rings, the buds will automatically switch to the phone. You could take your phone call, and then when you hang up the phone, it will automatically go back to the tablet or the laptop, and you can finish watching your movie. But Samsung, it will switch between devices, but they all have to be Samsung devices, and you also have to be logged into the same Samsung account on all of those devices for this to work. So it's definitely a little limiting. Okay, so I'm going to try to shorten the video just a little bit here, and I'm going to show you the features on the Buds 3 Pro, and I'll just tell you what the other features are that you're not getting on the other devices instead of going through each app again. So let's click on this. So we're going to go into sound quality and effects, and the 360 audio. The original Buds FE does not have this part at all, but the Buds 3 FE has the 360 audio, but it doesn't have the head tracking, which, if you love this feature, great. I kind of found it a little gimmicky, but it's up to you. I don't think this would make a big difference with you making a decision on the buds that you like. Let's get out of that. I told you the equalizer. This is the same on all of them except on the Buds 3 Pro and the Buds 3 FE, you do get a custom sound that you can do. You can't name it and you can't save more than one, but at least you have one that you can save. That is not available on the original Buds FE. Let me just go back here. The boost dialogue, which makes it easier to hear voices. And then the loudness normalization, which basically, if you have different sources of music and there's a big difference in the volume, this will normalize that out. All three buds have this feature, which is nice. And we got the app settings. Let me click on that. This has no apps in here now, which I did set up on the Buds 4. But basically, if you have an app like YouTube Music or Netflix or Spotify, whatever you have, you can change like the volume settings, the EQ, and other things like that, and then it will save it here. And then you could adjust it here, and then when you go into your Netflix or if you go into a podcast or something like that, it will apply those settings automatically, which is really nice. And again, that is also available on the Buds FE. And then we got to adjust to fit. So this will alter the sound depending on how well it fits in your ear. The Buds FE and the Buds 3 FE does not have that. But the Buds 3 FE has a little accessibility that you can adjust the left and right balance if your hearing is different in one ear or the other. So that is a nice feature. And then we're going to go just advanced quality options here. And these things are available only on the Buds 3 Pro, but these are also only available if you have a Samsung phone paired to this. So that's going to give you better sound quality, 96 kilohertz, and it's going to make the speech sound better. You go from 8 kilohertz bandwidth to 16. If you're listening to high-res audio, you might notice a difference. If not, then this really is not that big of a feature. Let me click back out of that. And let me go down to the Adapt Sound. This is another feature that the other two devices do not have. If we click on this, you can turn it on and off, obviously. But then it will change the sound based on your age. So as you get older, you lose some different sensitivity in the different frequencies. So this will automatically adjust for that. Again, a nice little feature. Okay, so let me just scroll down here to advanced features. So all three of them will allow your notifications to be read out loud, and all three of them have the in-ear detection. So that means when you take the buds out, it will automatically pause the music, which is nice. Only the Buds 3 Pro gives you the neck stretch reminders. So if you're hunched over, looking at your phone for 17 hours, this will give you periodic reminders to stretch your neck and kind of loosen up a little bit. I usually turn all these things off, but if you like it, then great. And on the labs here, only the Buds 3 FE and the Buds 3 Pro have this gaming mode, which will decrease the latency to hopefully help you play better in your game. Let's move on. And then the only other thing is only the Buds 3 Pro will give you the AuraCast, which is basically public Bluetooth. So just imagine if you're in an airport, you could tune into the information about your flight, and it will broadcast that to your buds instead of you having to listen to all the other announcements. This is still kind of in its infancy, I think, but it is going to become more widespread in the future. So if you want your buds to be a little more future-proof, then you might want to go with the Buds 3 Pro. All three buds have the Find My Buds, which would show you the last location of the buds on the map. And then you could also ring your buds if you want to try to find them in your house or something like that. Okay, the last thing is that these are the only ones with the lights. So if we just push and hold both of these, we get the lights, and these can fade in and out, or they can blink, and you can change the settings in the software there. I guess I'll show you that real quick. But these have the lights. If you were wondering, the Buds FE do not. Okay, so again, I have the Buds 3 Pro here. I'm back in the app, and it is in earbud controls. We click on this and scroll all the way down here to earbud light controls. We click on this. I could have them blinking, fade in and out, or I could just have them stay on. I think this was originally built as kind of like a cool safety feature if you're running at night or something like that, but these really aren't all that bright. But that's really all I have for these guys. If you have any questions about them, if I missed any features that you want to know about, just put it in the comments. And the viewer, I didn't want to call out the viewer's name, but the viewer that requested this, I hope this was helpful, and I hope it helped make your decision for you. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you on the next video.